Good afternoon and welcome to the big show. The big show, as we say it, is always lots of fun. We are brought to you by FanDuel Casino. And, of course, FanDuel always is a place where you can bet. We'll talk a little bit about different things you can bet over the next, a little bit here. We will. Yesterday, obviously, the Steelers won a huge game. And the bottom line is it doesn't matter how they did it, they did it. And, I know that there's lots of questions about whether or not, the Ravens got a little bit screwed or whatever. And, listen, I will say this, okay? I will say this. If the game played out the exact same way, except for the 3 or 4 calls that are really people are talking about, they went the other way. I mean, people would be screaming bloody murder right now, wouldn't they, around these parts? They would be really angry about it. They'd be talking about conspiracies. They'd be talking about how this, the NFL hates the Steelers. So I can understand what's going on with the Ravens. They are basically Ravens fans, I should say. They are basically, venting because they're angry. They feel like their team got robbed. So I look at that and I basically say it's really a part of the game. And as I say all the time, throughout the course of time, those calls are probably going to even out and there'll be a few that'll go the Ravens' way. The 2 most egregious ones to me were the touchdown and the roughing the kicker or roughing, the roughing on the field goal. I think I've seen enough of the experts and the rules people to know that the interpretation of the roughing on the field goal was interpreted poorly and wrong, and probably it should not be a penalty. So, in that case, you want to take 4 points off the board, fine, take 4 points off the board. The other one is the touchdown. I don't even know what a catch is anymore or what a touchdown is. Because if you take, the football and that much of the tip and you touch the goal line, it's a touchdown. But catching the ball and putting 2 feet down in the end zone apparently is not. So, I don't know what to think. But either way, the Steelers won. And I think it's now become one of those things where you look at it and say that the Steelers now control the division. They have a better conference record than the Ravens. They now have the tiebreaker. They have a better overall record than the Ravens. And I think one of the things that we keep seeing or keep saying, which clearly is just not going to be the case, it's just not going to happen for the Ravens this year. I guess they're good enough to reel off 4 wins in a row if they need to, but I'll be honest with you, they are so self-destructive. They make so many boneheaded plays. They make so many mistakes. I just feel like when you look at the mistakes they make, you look at the different decisions they make. That includes the quarterback, Lamar Jackson. I think he makes some atrocious decisions. I do. I think he makes some really bad decisions with the football, and it leads them to lose, to have negative plays. I think he takes some really bad sacks because he's trying to do too much. I think far too often he's looking for the home run ball, and, if he just took the underneath stuff, took 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 yards, and every so often you see one like what happened with Jaylen Warren where they threw it to him on one of those sideways swing passes. He caught it, and next thing you know, he's off to the races. Lamar Jackson doesn't do that. Really doesn't do that. He basically is looking to make a home run every single time he touches the ball. And that's a problem to me. They make mistakes. I thought the interception that Lamar Jackson threw was just atrocious. I mean, nice play by James Pierre, but just a really bad throw and decision. I thought the final play where it hit off of Mark Andrews' hands, I think that's a touchdown if Andrews isn't there, is 2 steps back, and also if Lamar Jackson throws a better football, even if he throws it a little bit higher, it goes over Andrews and probably is a touchdown to, who was it, DeAndre Hopkins in the back of the end zone. I mean, I think really and realistically, the Ravens do enough to self-destruct every week that I can't see them winning. I know they won 5 in a row, but I can't see them winning 4 in a row coming up here. I feel like they'll probably beat the Bengals next week. And maybe even, then beat New England. But then they've got to go to Green Bay and, to Pittsburgh. So, the reality is they have to win out as if the Steelers go 3-1. Steelers obviously have a probably a tougher game than it looked like maybe a month ago, and that's against the Dolphins. But then they've got the Lions, and they play the Browns. So to me, the Steelers could be in good shape now as long as they don't lose to the Dolphins. They lose to the Dolphins, then it gets a little bit dicey, for sure. And I think that's where, you have to, if you're the Steelers, continue to sort of build on what you did yesterday. The Ravens, to me, I think that probably if they weren't such a dumb football team, they might have a shot. But I just don't see that happening. I don't. I think it's really one of those things where the Ravens are probably done. The Bengals are done. The Browns are done. This really is the Steelers' division to lose now. Like, no matter what happens, the Steelers are the team to beat. They're the team that, to me, I think you look at where they're at and where they're going and whatever, they're the best team right now in that division. Now, what does that mean going forward? I don't know. I don't know what it means going forward because I have to see what the the matchups are in the playoffs. As it is right now, they'd have to play the Bills. And for all their flaws, and I think the Bills have a lot of flaws, trust me, I'm thinking the Bills might be the best team. They might be the team that emerges when we're talking about who's going to the Super Bowl. It could be the Bills. So that's where I would look at their matchups. And you kind of say, well, they're only 2 games behind Jacksonville. Maybe they can get to the 3 seed and avoid the Bills. I fully expect the Bills, I fully expect the Bills are going to be the team in the 5 spot. And so if they're the team in the 5 spot, if you're the Steelers, you kind of want to miss them for real. The other team that we're looking at is the Chargers, who already beat the Steelers, but I think most people felt like the Steelers could beat them if they played a better game. And then, of course, the other team that's probably still in the mix is the Texans. And I think the thing about the Texans is that defense is real. They're really good. And they've played really well recently. So, to me, I'm looking at the Texans, and they've won 5 in a row. They got Arizona, Las Vegas, and the Colts, who, lost Daniel Jones. I mean, there's a good chance they're going to get to 11 wins. So that's where the Bills have to be, 11 wins. You look at it, that's the playoff. I mean, you want to avoid the Texans, probably in the Bills in the first round if you want to break that streak of, we haven't won a playoff game in forever. That's what you look for is what are the good matchups? Well, I don't think the Bills are a good matchup. And even though they played once, I know they could come back and win and, okay, yay, they won. I don't know, man. I just don't know. I don't know if that's who you want to be playing. Seriously. Just don't think it works that way. So, to me, I look at the big picture for the Steelers and I say, yesterday was so important because I think if they lose, they miss the playoffs. Now, they're likely to make the playoffs, get a home game, and maybe if things go out well for them, get one of these teams that's below them that they probably will have a good chance of beating. I have to admit, I have not watched a lot of Jacksonville. Jacksonville, is a team right now that's in first place. And so when you look at that, they easily fall out and get replaced by the Texans. If you look at what Jacksonville's done recently, they've won 4 in a row. They beat the Chargers, Arizona, Tennessee, Indianapolis. And the thing about it is they've got the Jets, Indianapolis, and Tennessee all left. So, we can say whatever we want to say about their head coach, who seems to be a little bit of a hardhead. Say whatever you want to say about Trevor Lawrence, who's one of those enigma quarterbacks that you watch and you say, boy, he seemingly should be better than he is. But say whatever you want to say about them, but they have won 4 in a row and 5 of their last 6. And their loss was to Houston. And they had beaten Houston earlier in the year. So, all told, what we saw yesterday was a really good sign for the Steelers. Because I think one of the things about it is they are a pretty gritty team, aren't they? Say whatever you want to say. They're resilient. They fight through a lot of adversity. They just sort of find ways to make plays. And that's what you have to do to win. Like, you have to be able to make plays. Under duress, with the pressure on, everything, all that stuff has to happen for you. And so I think when you look at the Steelers, in my mind, a few stars on defense that they rely on to make plays. And those guys have to make plays. And if they don't make plays, the Steelers have a hard time winning because they're not a shutdown kind of defense. They're not the kind of defense that they once was. They are not the kind that makes the other team cry and beg for every yard they get. They're not. They're just basically a team that is, in my mind at least, they're a team that has a flawed roster, but they also basically make big plays. I mean, yesterday, if you look, they made big plays all throughout the course of the game, but especially down the stretch, holding them to 2 field goals. The play at the end zone where Patrick Queen makes a really good play. Joey Porter Jr., you know what? You can say whatever you want to say about the touchdown being called back, but it never is if Joey Porter Jr. doesn't stick with the play and do everything in his power to get the ball out of the guy's hands. So I think, honestly, all told, the Steelers they're the best team. They're the best team in the division, and I think they're in the best position in the division. Now, we have all kinds of experts, what I would call social media experts, who seem to want to tell us all about the rules of football. When you have guys that have been, rules analysts, ex-referees, you've got different guys saying basically the rule was interpreted poorly, I have to believe that. I have to believe it. And I think that when you look at the big picture, right, it's going to be in one of these things where it'll come back. And that's what I would tell you. It'll come back. They'll get a call down the stretch somewhere that helps them because it usually evens itself out. One thing that we saw last night probably was the end of the Chiefs, at least for this year. I'm not going to say it's the end of the dynasty because they still have Patrick Mahomes, right? But I do think you start to look at what they're doing and you say, wow, they are just not very good. Their defense is, sort of okay. Their offense has no playmakers. I mean, we talk about the playmakers here and the lack of them. Take a look at that team. It's pretty clear to me. That we're looking at, in many ways, what I would call the end of the dynasty. They're done. Put a fork in them. Put a fork in them. Because they're done. And so, to me, it just feels like that's a team you don't have to worry about. Clearly, in the offseason, they make a few changes, build a couple of things. They've got the quarterback to do it. Maybe, they come back and they're like the Patriots, where they had, they won they won 3 titles. Then they had a little drought. Then they came back with a pretty much brand new team except for Brady and won 3 more titles. The Chiefs could do that with Mahomes. So that's where I just tell you, I like the Steelers' position in the AFC. Whereas in the past, we've seen, this thing where you look into the playoff field and you say, boy, that team, and that team, they have no chance against. I don't feel like that against just about anybody. I think the Bills are a bad matchup for them. I think the Broncos have a really good defense, and they're efficient enough on offense. Maybe that could be a threat, but I think they should kill the Broncos if they play them. The Chargers, to me, they've had so many injuries. I like Justin Herbert, but they can't protect him. I don't know. The Patriots, they already beat. I mean, I look around, and the teams that you look at and say, well, those are bad matchups. The Texans might be, just because of their defense. But I don't know if they are. I think the Bills are, because, Josh Allen is really, really, really difficult to deal with. And I don't think they have the players to deal with him. But that's where we're at. That's to me, that's where we're at with the Steelers. It was a big win for them yesterday. They needed that. Now all of a sudden, they can not necessarily rest easy. You can never rest easy, but the pressure is a little bit off of them, right? That's what I would say to you is important about winning a game like that. You've created a little bit of a margin for error. So I think that's a big thing in my mind. Now, yesterday, what we saw with Aaron Rodgers was probably something different than we've seen, in quite some time. They came out first play, threw it down the field. Came out first play, threw it down the field. Ravens weren't really ready for it, 53-yard gain. Early in the third quarter, same thing, threw it down the field. They had 3 or 4 of those kind of things where they threw the ball down the field. They also figured out that your best player is DK Metcalf, so get him the ball. That translated into a situation of where he had 12 targets. So I like, the positioning right now where the Steelers are at. I like what they're trying to do. I like everything about the fact that we saw yesterday when they air it out what it can be. I think it can be something really, really good. And that's, to me, what you should be trying to look at. Is it something that's really, really good? Aaron Rodgers hasn't been allowed, I don't think, to really air it out like that. I tell you the other thing that I think is really telling, okay, was yesterday Roman Wilson was inactive, a healthy scratch, and they put in Adam Thielen instead. And I think Marquez Valdes-Scantling was also active. But here's what I'm going to tell you. If you look at what they did, right, those two guys, nothing spectacular. Valdes-Scantling had 0 catches on 1 target. Adam Thielen had 1 reception on 1 target. And he went for 4 yards. Their value, it's pretty clear to me, at least in the eyes of Aaron Rodgers, their value was just sort of one of those things where you've got veteran guys and he's comfortable with veterans. Period. He's comfortable with veterans. I think that's where we're at with him. And so it might not even be about Roman Wilson. It might be just, the situation to me, it might just be, well, Aaron Rodgers is more comfortable with veteran guys that know what they're doing and run good routes and all that other stuff, and they can help some of these other guys out there. Maybe. But I think it's pretty clear that this is the way he wants to go. He was very, very animated for a lot of the game. And, it's one of those things where I bet you if I really, really had to take a look, I would be willing to bet, he was animated, but not as much as in the past when he had guys like Roman Wilson out there who, let's face it, run the wrong way. It's funny, was it last week he threw John Smith under the bus, if you remember that. Basically said, hey, he ran the wrong route. I don't like that, but he's the leader. But the thing I noticed about yesterday, John Smith had one target. He was a non-factor. So you wonder, does Aaron Rodgers have the ability? Does he have the ability to, basically demote guys and bring in guys that he wants? Did Mike Tomlin basically say, who are you comfortable with? Who do you want? Kind of looks that way, doesn't it? And it looks like Roman Wilson isn't one of them. So to me, it's going to be interesting now when both of them here, are here together. They have a full week practice together. Full week of practicing with like first and second team reps. I think that's important. I really do. I think that when you look at that whole dynamic, it's important that they're able to run those veteran guys out there, because those veteran guys seem to know what they're doing, even though they only had, again, a combined one catch for 4 yards. If you listen to Aaron Rodgers talk, he'll tell you he liked all their leadership throughout the week and all of the things that they did to help get prepared. The fact that they are veterans, was it valuable? I mean, those are all very telling quotes to me, because that tells me that he's probably out on Roman Wilson. That tells me that. And I think that's really, really important in many, many ways. So you have that. It is now also the Steelers are getting ready to play Miami. I think it's important, actually, because the Steelers' defense, has still been pretty porous against the run. And, I think that when you watch them play, even yesterday, they gave up 217 yards rushing. Now they have a guy, coming in who's basically, he's a really good running back. The Dolphins, if you watched, the 49ers offense over the course of time, the Dolphins have been a team that their offense is similar to that, and that they can run and run and run and run. And you better be able to run if you're going to beat the Steelers. So it's going to be, an interesting game. I think we all thought it was going to be really boring. We thought it was going to be a blowout because the Dolphins were bad a few weeks ago, but they're better now. They're getting much better, actually. And I think that's a big thing. By the way, go to FanDuel Casino, download the app, and once you download the app at FanDuel Casino, There's a lot of different ways you can bet on tonight's game. That would be the Monday night game. It's between the Eagles and the Chargers. When you think about it, the Eagles are actually favored by 1.5. I don't know. I'm not sure what you would do with that right now. It's now they're favored by 2.5. So you can go to your FanDuel Sportsbook account, find all kinds of odds for anything. Saquon Barkley, first touchdown scored, plus 600. Jalen Hurts, first touchdown scored, plus 650. Amari and Hampton, anytime touchdown, plus 185. In other words, if you look at this game through the eyes of gamblers, you kind of feel like they're really, really hedging and feeling good about Philadelphia, even though it's on the road and in Los Angeles. And even though, the Chargers have been a really good team of late as well. I do think it'll be a game that will provide a little bit of a glimpse of the AFC, NFC thing. But nevertheless, get on your FanDuel app, bet, download the FanDuel app, bet as much as you want or as little as you want, bet responsibly, but always have a good time, right? We like to have a good time with these kinds of games. But get on your FanDuel app, bet, do whatever you have to do, and make sure that you are able to take full advantage of the best casino app online. Around the division, we'll go. The Bengals yesterday looked like they were getting ready to be world beaters. They were a team that had a 14-point lead, and then all of a sudden Josh Allen took over the game, as he often does, and so the Bengals lost, and now they're probably gone. They've got 9 losses now. That's hard to overcome. It's going to be 8 losses probably is all it's going to take, is what you can have if you want to try and win the division. Like, I don't think the Steelers and Ravens will get to 9 losses. So anyway, there's that. So the Bengals are done. Then there's Cleveland. Browns have been done for a long, long time because the Browns are the Browns, right? But, they may have found their quarterback. They might yesterday have said, hey, we found our quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, who they named today as the starter for the rest of the season. Shedeur Sanders, if I take a look, I pull this up, he played really, really well yesterday. 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 364 yards. That's big stuff. And he also, if I'm not mistaken, let's see, he had 1 interception, took 2 sacks. They had a chance to win at the end, and their coach went for 2 in the win as opposed to 1 in the tie. I'm sorry, no. Looking at the score, they had to go for 2. But if they go for 2, they get a tie, and, he gets into overtime. The interesting discussion and debate, Shedeur Sanders down around the goal line, they take him out for a running back and go Wildcat. And then on their 2-point conversion to tie the game, you absolutely needed it. They did some sort of, double reverse type thing with a non-quarterback playing quarterback. And, of course, this caused lots of outrage among the Shedeur Sanders legion of weirdos, because they all believe that it was set up that way to, that Kevin Stefanski set it up that way so that Shedeur Sanders couldn't be the hero, which among these theories that I hear get thrown around, honestly, that might be the dumbest. All right. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.